Imagine preparing for a test in school or a CPA exam. You study for it the whole week or however much time you have allowed. You study the material, you take the test, and you fail it, right? It's emotionally devastating, right? The same thing. Imagine, you're going to the gym religiously to whatever the goal is, to get more stamina, to lose weight, to gain muscle, to get definition, whatever it is. You do it religiously, and then you get the opposite results, right? It's, again, emotionally devastating, exhausting, right? And it's not even a situation where you don't get the results immediately. You never get them, right? And that is why investing is so emotionally exhausting, because I remember it like yesterday, that the whole thesis with Oracle. You see, I've been involved long enough that the thesis was that Oracle owned Santa Thomas, but the legal situation wasn't resolved, right? They had to actually get the courts to agree with them. Then they had to get after the courts agreed with them, then they had to get the registry, register the title, right? And then you had to, after you got the title registered, then you had to wait some more to get the permit to drill it. I mean, it was just like emotional every step of the way. It was just this waiting and waiting and waiting, and it was like you were working, right? You were working. It was emotionally exhausting, waiting for when is it going to happen, the court, when is the court date? And then the court date kept getting moved and kept getting moved and kept getting moved and kept getting moved. And then it finally got resolved. And then the registration, oh my God, that was a nightmare. Waiting and waiting and waiting. And what about the permit? I think it was like a year to get the permit. So it was, as a shareholder of a company, owner of the company, or a manager of the company, you put in all this work to get a certain result, and you know how important it is to get the result, right? Because if there is no court, we don't really own Santa Thomas. If there is no registration of title, we don't really own Santa Thomas. If there is no permit to drill, we can't really prove up the historical. We can't expand the historical. We can't sell it. We can't package it. Like, all of these steps are so hugely important. And as an owner of the company, you know it. As a management of the company, you know it, right? So you know how important all of this work is to get this. And then you finally get there. You finally get this, and nobody cares. You finally get there, and nobody cares. And what I mean by nobody, of course, the people that own the stock and they know it's important, they care. But you don't get rewarded with the stock price for those important things. That's why investing is so exhausting, because you know how important it is to get this certain milestone, to get this certain catalyst, and then the market doesn't care and doesn't reward you for this, right? That's why investing is so difficult mentally, because like the market doesn't care. The market doesn't care. The market didn't put any work into. If the market put some work into it, then they would know how important it is. But the market didn't put any work into it. So the market is like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like, for example, on Aduro, as a shareholder and as a manager, you know how important it was to land the Shell deal. It was a game changer. But the market is like, no big deal. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean real revenues right away. Who cares, right? The market didn't work for it, right? With Voxter last year, waiting and waiting and waiting and hoping for what? Fannie and Freddie to approve AOL, attorney opinion letter. As a shareholder, as a manager, you know how important it was. And I talked about it, how it's almost like you have a highway. There's a highway, title insurance, and then the highway has toll booth. And then the title industry, you have to go through the highway and you have to pay the toll booth. And now we, as shareholders of Voxter, got another highway, AOL, right? An alternative to that. And some cars are going to go through this and we have a toll booth, right? So you know how important, you know how tectonic, you know that nothing in title has changed in 75 years. You know how important it is. And then they, on April 6th, I think, of last year, they got it. And what happened since then? The stock went down 80%, right? And again, the market doesn't care, right? The market doesn't care how difficult it was to get to this milestone. The market didn't work for it. The market doesn't care, right? But that's why investing is so exhausting, because you don't know when you're going to get rewarded for these things. You just don't know. And I've been in so many situations like this that I wanted for something to happen. It happened, but you didn't get rewarded for it. So now I'm sure lots of you have similar stories. Share your story. Share your story in the comments below of how something happened with your company. It was monumental, but the market didn't care.